creating digital concerts, spreading the word about the Venice Symphony, and looking ahead to the year 2021 on this episode of Behind the Baton with Maestro Troy Quinn. Well, hey, here we are. Look, I got you here in person.
I'm here, Tim.
This is great. It's been so nice to not have to sit here and try to figure out how to make the Zoom work.
No buttons, and we're safe and distanced, and here
we got the tape measure. We're 6 feet apart. You're here in Florida. Well, Happy New Year, first of all.
Thank you. Happy New Year. It's great to be here.
Now, how was your New Year's? I know things are a little crazy in LA right now.
Quiet and safe. Just hanging low, actually, until things open up again. And I was happy to get here. We have our upcoming last digital concert we're doing, getting prepared for. So, yeah, so far so good.
We're making it. We're making
it work.
Now, the last time we talked, we were preparing for the release of these digital concerts.
Right.
And since then, we've actually released 2 of them.
Right.
Tell us a little bit of how that experience went.
It's been great. I mean, we've had such a great feedback from our audience and from our musicians. You know, it's a big undertaking. I know you realize it, Tim, and all the people behind the scenes. But I can't wait to get back to doing live concerts because the amount of time it takes to be invested in this digital content is it's a commitment. I mean, it's wonderful because it's there forever. We've got a product, and we're reaching so many folks that would normally not see us, not even just during non-COVID time, but just in general, people watching from all over the country. I mean, I think our first video, The Strings That Hinge, has 7,000 views on YouTube. It's, you know, we're getting so much great feedback. And in these tumultuous times, all I keep hearing is, this brought us some joy out of this darkness for this period, you know, and so that's the payoff for me.
Now, normally we would go out there, the lights would turn on, we have this concert, and
Right.
the audience would love it, we go home. But you're saying that this was a much bigger undertaking, right?
It absolutely was.
So when we did the final cutoff,
Yeah.
what happened after that?
Right to the studio. Marcus and I, who is our concert master and also did our audio engineering, spent a lot of time on mixing and mastering the audio and then getting that right and then sending it over to Captivation Productions for the video process. And then, of course, at that point I was back in Los Angeles, and then I was working with Captivation on the edits of the video, and they were sending me drafts and I was correcting it. And the biggest challenge, I think, is, and they're doing a wonderful job, everybody's really come together, what a team we have. I mean, we're turned into like a TV studio now, you know, and luckily I know a little bit about that, so we've got a little advantage in dealing with studio work and audio-visual recordings. But the challenge, of course, is the syncing. And as we've talked about a lot, you know, it takes a lot of time for my stick to match what the orchestra is playing. And when we're doing it not live, when we do it live, no matter what happens, it's good. And when we have these multiple passes on the video, you have to make it match to the audio. So it's a challenge because we're using the best take, of course, from the audio. But we may use the video from take 4. And so we've got software that links that up, but and syncs that up, rather. But there's nothing better than my eye. So I trust that more than anything. So it's just getting those things and the technical parts of the video perfect, and the uploads and Captivation and Markets at H&M Productions have been great. You know, I mean, just real pros. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this next one.
So let's go into the nitty-gritty here as we go behind the baton today.
Yes, sir.
So we've all seen those bad kung fu movies with the overdubbing, and
Right.
it never works right. So how did you make sure as a conductor, or the musicians who were working without a conductor, that tempo was consistent? Was there tricks to make sure that it lined up?
Sure, of course, and we can get it 99% with the software and the technology. We watch the audio waveforms to line up with what the master track is doing. But at the end of the day, it really is visually looking at the fingers, at the player's fingers, or looking at my baton and knowing exactly where the sound should hit after the baton. You know, I mean, especially in American orchestras and definitely in European orchestras, the sound comes after the baton, and the orchestra is naturally, especially if it's a slower piece, a fraction behind, and that's natural. But we don't want it too far delayed, and we don't want it too far ahead of the beat. So you know when it's off. You know when you're watching those types of films and there's overdubbing or it's a foreign film, and you can sense that. And so, you know, for me at least, it's really tuning into the player's movements and my own movements, because, you know, there was a point actually we were conducting and we were editing one piece from the strings concert, and, you know, Captivation is wonderful and they've got it, you know, they lined it up right, but I actually saw that I was a beat ahead of the music. Even though it was perfectly synced, it was exactly one beat off. Nobody would know that but me. So that's where I think that eagle eye comes into play, Tim.
And that's a testament, I think, of how much the whole team really put into this, because it would have been really simple to just put something out there and, hey, that was close enough.
Right.
It's a free concert. What do you want? But to spend that time and the effort to make sure that, geez, when we changed that finger on that string, it made the change, or that beat was together.
Absolutely. You know, and I think what we're doing is fairly innovative. Great orchestras like Minnesota and Detroit have been doing live streams. They're using robo cameras, and they're basically doing 8 camera angles, and as if it was a live concert, and they're filming that. But it's one continuous take most of the time. What we're doing is we're doing a take, and then we're doing another take getting up close to the players, and we're doing all of this very interactive, very immersive visual content. And so that's harder to capture in than just a one take, okay, go, and we can get all the angles, but you don't have the flexibility. So it's a lot harder to pull off what we're doing, I think, but so far I've been very pleased, and I know that the musicians have been happy, and our audiences have never been happier. Since we can't get into the hall yet, we're looking forward to when we can. So
having those musicians together was probably thrilling. I mean, we were together, it was February where we played together. Tell me what it was like to get some of the, and it wasn't the full orchestra because of the restrictions, but what was that feeling like to get live musicians from the Venice Symphony together again?
I mean, euphoria is the first word that comes to mind. It's soothing of your soul, I think, you know, and especially for us who, you know, do this for our living and for our careers. You know, for me personally, it was like I was parched and I finally got water for the first time, you know, and it might not have been a gallon, it might have been a liter, but you know, I think that was reminiscent for all of us that hope is on the way and that we're going to get through this all together and persevere. And so, I mean, so much of the music we were playing as well is based on those elements of perseverance and strength and unity and, you know, coming together via collaboration. So it kind of underscored the bigger picture that we're dealing with, and we were musically representing that too with the stuff we were playing. So I think that was a turning point, and we all know we're going to come out of this. It's just a matter of when.
So far we've had our Strings Unhinged concert, which you said has over 7,000 views. Now, is that like going away? Is that like a limited thing? Like you better watch it now because it's going to disappear?
Nope, it'll be there forever, for all of eternity, and you know, my dad has probably watched it 50 times by now. And so that's the wonderful thing about this. It's a permanent product. So it's there on demand for all time. And, you know, we're putting up, obviously, new videos, not just to do with our concerts, but related to our education programs and else. So we'll have new content up there. But that's going to be there. We've done our strings. We did our holiday concert. We're going to be having a chamber concert, which we're titling Resound and Resilience. That'll sort of be our finale, if you will. And then we're doing a brass concert, which is coming up this weekend. So brass and percussion. And that's going to be a real heroic fanfare, you know, no-holds-barred type of music making. So I'm looking forward to that.
So it's brass and percussion together?
That's right. Yes, we're doing a few pieces with brass and percussion together, and then we're just doing brass alone. And most of the time it's going to be a brass octet. We're doing these great pieces by Giovanni Gabrielli, an Italian composer who was one of the wonderful composers in residence at St. Mark's Cathedral in Venice. And he wrote this very sacred music, but it's kind of antiphonal. So there's a little brass choir here, 4 people, and a brass choir here, 4 people. And it's absolutely gorgeous gorgeous, mind-boggling music. And not only that, we've got John Williams brass fanfare from Harry Potter we're playing, and we're playing Copland's fanfare for the Common Man with brass and percussion, as well as another fanfare lesser known by a choral composer, Z. Randall Stroop, to open the concert. I think it's really going to be exciting, and it's going to give us the boost we need to get through the next few months in the winter.
A nice bombastic start to 2021 here. And some of these pieces, as you said, fanfare for the Common Man, you're going to hear it within 2 chords and you'll know what it is.
Right.
But it's great to know some of these lesser known pieces too. When you put together this, do you think about, like, I want to have some stuff that the everyday listener will know, but maybe some other ones that are, maybe not as common or more obscure?
Always, Tim, and I think you know my programming, and so many of our viewers now do too, that I'm always looking for the most popular pieces like Fanfare for the Common Man that are timeless, but also things that people might not have heard that also deserve to be heard, like Z. Randall Stroop's Fanfare from Cantus Natalis, a choral and orchestral piece he wrote. We're also doing a Strauss fanfare on there that was originally for 16 trumpets and horns and all brass. Obviously, we've pared that down a little bit. There'll be, 15 players altogether. So, but I'm always looking for that hook, The John Williams, of course, is a particular favorite of mine, and it's short. It's only like 2 minutes, but it's well known, and when people hear that little Harry Potter melody, they'll recognize it, So I think it's a mixture of old and new. Some people may not be familiar with the Gabrielli canzones, the songs, and it's very popular brass repertoire, and so brass players will be familiar with it, but it really deserves to be heard. That's the great thing about this type of programming, which is, in all honesty, is more difficult than programming the orchestra because there's so much more. You have to get into the nitty-gritty for the chamber stuff, and when you only have 8 musicians, what's the repertoire for that? But it actually has given us an opportunity for this chamber music to have a new life, and for music that deserves to be heard, that may not be in a big orchestral setting, now has a platform for it in this type of digital content. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
And the great thing about this too, as you said, we're so used to going out to the VPAC and seeing the full orchestra, or full orchestra with choir at times, right. And now, again, you can focus in and really, really see the talent of the musicians themselves.
That's right.
In the group. Tell me what that's like. I know you work with some different groups around the country. Tell us about our Venice Symphony here. What is the caliber of the musicians that we get a chance to hear?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, that's my favorite part of my job, Tim, is to collaborate with these great artists and my colleagues, and all of them are so renowned in their own realm. I mean, we've had people play with the New York Philharmonic that are playing with us now. And we've had people that play in Sarasota and play all over the country and went to school at IU and Juilliard and everywhere else. And so, making music with like-minded people and with these talented artists, there's sort of a, what's the word, I guess I want to say, a silent respect that goes into that, that I certainly have for our musicians who are really top-notch. And, we're just getting better because we're playing more together, and I think we're very fortunate to have such a great talent pool here on the west coast of Florida. I mean, this Sarasota-Tampa area is very unique, and we've managed to, I think, get the best players we can because of what we're doing, and not just the financial part of it and offering services, but because they believe in what we're doing and and how the organization is growing. And I think that's very advantageous and attractive to these players. I mean, it helps when you got a crazy guy on the podium jumping up and down, encouraging everybody and not necessarily chopping their head off, which I try to do, I try not to do. And so there's this symbiotic relationship between myself and the musicians, and that's what I felt from the beginning here. It's just, we're friends and colleagues, having fun and making music and respecting each other's great level of ability, And so, for instance, the brass concert we have, Aaron Rahm's our principal trumpet, and Joe Offner will be our principal trombone. Robert Moore's our principal horn. These are great players that have played in the area for a while, and some are new, and so I think Dana Kimball, our principal percussion, And just everybody we have here is, there's really no weak links. So it makes it exciting for me, because then I don't have to fix too much. We just concentrate on making music and can kind of tweak things, you know. And that's important because we don't have much time. We really have to, you know, this is not like we've got all the time to rehearse in the world. We're literally going through this once and then recording, just as we do in Hollywood, you know. So there is some stress there, but so far everybody has been a pro and managed it, and really I think everybody is engaged in getting back to what's the most vital thing, and that's making music together.
Yeah. This leads in perfectly to one of our our Maestro Mailbag questions of the week here. It came from Robert in Fort Myers, who travels up to hear the group here, which is great.
Robert.
And the question was, he was watching all the different videos and Meet the Musicians and different things, and they always talked about the caliber of this group. It taken a step with Troy Quinn. So
well.
now that there's pressure here, but you know, what do you bring? Is there a style? Now, of course, as you said, these recording sessions are different, but when you have a week of rehearsals, is there a style or look at that persona? I always think of like coaches. I was like, you know, there's the player's coach and there's that no-nonsense coach. Is there a style? How would you define you as a music director and conductor?
Well, let me just preface that by saying, Tim, that really 90% of the work has to be done before. You know, Dana Kimball works very hard with me on selecting the right people, and we have the audition process, and we do things a little bit differently here. You know, we're able to be flexible and get the best players in here who are also committed to us and who want to play with the Venice Symphony. And they're coming from on the east coast of Florida, down from Miami, all the way from Tallahassee. I mean, we're drawing on the whole state. So the first criteria is we want to get the best people in here. That's absolutely number one. But it's really, you know, even if you had Dudamel in here, you have to have the horses in order to run the race, you know, and you have to have these great artists and like-minded people in order to see your vision, you know. Doesn't matter how great you are on the podium is my point. But I do think that being a coach or a music director can take that group to the next level, the next 10% or the next 15%, to take it over, because, you know, great orchestras can play whether the conductor is competent or not, or whether they, you know, are making faces at him or her or not. But I do think having somebody, and it's sad to say, I think the exception to the rule is now having somebody on the podium that the musicians respect and they want to play for. Unfortunately, that is not the norm in our industry. And you know, I try to just bring the sense of we're all in this together. I have the ultimate respect for these folks. I may not be the youngest person in the room anymore, but maybe the second youngest. So there's that pressure too, to say, well, what am I going to bring to this that some of these very seasoned pros have done before? But, you know, my perspective is a little different because, as you know, I came to music a little later in my life in terms of my formal training. So I have a fresh ear on those types of things, and I'm very convinced on what I want, and I think making that clear and doing that in a collegial way, you're already 90% there if you can do that. And for me, everything's driven by the music. So if you know, our audiences, I'm sure, have seen me jump or exclaim or yell or whatever it is, it's really the music that's driving that. So any type of passionate involvement I'm bringing comes from that. So I think that emanates from the podium down, and the musicians see that and can respect that, even if they don't agree with, well, I don't agree with his tempo, or I don't think it should go this way. I think it's my job to convince everybody, let's try it this way. I'm all in, are you? And so I think the number one facet that we have is there's no barrier between myself and the musicians. Like, of course, I'm the music director, but there's no barrier there. So we can all work together as if it's a big chamber music type of concert. I mean, I just see myself as another musician. I just happen to be waving my baton, saying, you know, leading the group. I mean, I think of myself as just another viola player. So, you know, and I think the difference with this orchestra from other orchestras I work with is the willingness to go on that journey, and they see that, that growth. We have something special here, and it's come so far in even the period and previous to even me, thanks to our great leadership team and making some changes that are difficult. But the orchestra has expanded so exponentially artistically, and of course that's due to we get great players, we've got good leadership, and we've got an audience, and we're making great music. So I think there's nothing but going up. But it's actually when other orchestras are floundering, and it's unfortunate, most are. I mean, and we're in a very difficult position. We are in a fortunate position that the Venice Symphony is on this trajectory up, and we just got in a holding spot for the moment. But artistically, I've never seen this fast of a growth of an orchestra, and that's why I'm going to be here for a while. So,
you know, as we look ahead, one of the questions we had was from Ben in Venice too, and it talks about this new year here. What are some of the resolutions that you have, either personally or professionally, or even for our group, that you see as we move ahead to the future?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm usually not a guy, actually, though most people would peg me as somebody that you must have your New Year's resolution written down somewhere. I don't. I think it's more of a general thing, both personal and professional, actually, and that is to challenge the status quo, Tim, you know, and not just settle for anything in life. And I think, you know, pushing the boundaries of art and music and politics and everything, you know, I mean, where we're at and the health of our world is very important, you know, and I think music plays a vital role in that. So not just being silent behind the scene. You know, one thing that I and the Venice Symphony aim to do, and one of our missions, is of course make the world a bit brighter by bringing these opportunities not just to our community but to our children. And so I think that's why we exist. It's important to remember that, and why we do this. You know, we may not be surgeons saving people's lives, but somebody's going to come into the concert hall with a darkened soul from current events of surgery, a divorce, a death, and I think it's our job actually to make those 2 hours a little lighter and bring them joy, and that's why we're all doing this. So, I mean, for me, I can sit here and say we want to be the best regional orchestra in the South, you know, and sure, of course, and I think we're doing everything we can, but it's really more a challenge with ourselves to be better than we were yesterday. And that's what I want to do.
Always onward, right?
Upward and onward.
And that's great to say too, is like our youth orchestra has been performing. We're socially distant and outside.
Right.
We had an event at Cool Today Park where we were able to go outside and debut our content, and we had some live performers there as well, correct?
Yes, we did. We had the wonderful brass quintet there, and so we were able to do a little bit of live performance, and I'm actually be working with the youth orchestra while I'm here in town, so that'll be good. I'm excited to see what they've got going on for this semester. But it's really important to keep the music going in whatever fashion we can, and I'm very proud of the work Venice Symphony has done and what we're going to do in the future.
So all of the content is available on our website as well as on YouTube to see our digital concerts, but please check the calendar as well to see when these other chamber groups are performing along with our youth orchestra, and we're on the right path. We're getting there. We're making it. And again, we want to hear from you. It's important that you get a chance to share your thoughts with us, so you can visit us at tinyurl.com/Maestro Mailbag to have your questions share with me so I can share it with Troy, so we can continue this conversation even though we're not able to get together normally. This is great. I mean, this is so weird without
this every time.
This is so much easier, you know, to get together without the Zoom in here. Now you're in town now. You're going to do the recording, and then do you have to stay in town and do the post-production stuff again?
Yeah, I will be doing some of that along with Marcus and working with Captivation, our video team. So yeah, that's always the strenuous part and very involved, because it takes a lot of hours behind the scenes. But you know, I'm enjoying it because, you know, we've got great colleagues here, Tim. When you have that, it makes the job a lot easier. So, you know, I'm always excited to get that content out, and you know, the premiere of it, whenever we put it on YouTube, is always the most exciting thing, and to look at the comments. And of course, you know, I didn't think we'd be doing that at any point, but it's it's great because people in, you know, Hawaii can see it that would never know about us before, and that has happened. You know, I mean, connections from people who live up back east, you know, have been watching it. I spoke to a woman who was from near where I'm from, in Connecticut, and she was traveling in Rhode Island. She was like, "This is the perfect holiday for me," because I was by myself and back in Rhode Island and had nothing to do, and I watched that and I didn't even have to get out of my pajamas, you know. So it's really excellent how those connections can be made, you know, across the country. So we're going to continue that, and looking forward to getting back on that concert hall, raring and ready to go, and we will be.
We will be. So our biggest thing is just keep on spreading the word.
That's right.
About the Venice Symphony, and we're going to just keep on going onward, and as you said, find that trajectory.
Absolutely.
Troy, thank you so much for joining us today,
Thanks,
and we can't wait to see you again soon.
Looking forward to it.